Hi, I'm Chad with Move for a Guitar. This lesson is from our series, How to Read Music for a Guitar. In this lesson, I'm going to continue talking about repeat signs and notation. First off, if you like all the diagrams for this series, including the diagrams for this lesson, you can download our free e-guide, How to Read Music for a Guitar. But I am working on it right now as I'm filming this lesson, so it might not be available as you're watching this lesson. If it is available, a link will pop up on the screen that'll allow you to download it. And like I said, it's free, so there's no reason not to download it when it is available. This is part 27 from our series, How to Read Music for a Guitar. If you'd like to go back and start at the beginning, you can click the link on the screen. So in the last lesson, we started talking about repeat signs and notation, and I'm going to continue in this lesson and in the next lesson. And in the last lesson, we talked about start and end repeat signs and first and second endings. In this lesson, we're going to talk about something a little more complicated, although once you get it down, it's pretty easy, but there can be a lot to remember at first, so I'll just go over it in this lesson, and over time, it'll become pretty simple to you. So again, if you're just looking at a piece of music, you would start down here at the beginning and play through, and then whatever is happening, whether this was another measure out here, you would keep going. If it was an end bar line, you would stop there, and so on. And last lesson we talked about end repeat signs and how that jumps you back and you repeat different measures or the whole thing. Now we're going to look at some other notation, and the first one is this abbreviation right here, DC, and that stands for da capo, and it's an Italian word, and it's telling you to go back and play from the beginning. So again, you just start at the beginning, play through until you got to the DC sign, go back to the beginning and play through again. So that one's really simple. The next one we're going to look at is DS, the abbreviation, and that stands for Dal Segno. And what this is telling you to do, instead of go back and play at the beginning like DC, it's telling you to go back and play from the sign. And this is the sign right here. That's what it looks like. So you would start down here at the beginning, play to the DS, and then you go back to the sign, and then from there you play through to whatever the notation is telling you to do. The next one is DC al fine, and this one means that you go back to the beginning, but then end at the fine sign. So if you're playing this one, you would start down at the beginning, you would play through all these measures, you'd play through all these measures until you reach a DC al fine, and then from there you go all the way back to the beginning, and then you play through all these measures again, and then you play till you hit the fine sign, and that's where you would end. The next one is DS al fine, and I'm sure you can figure out what this means because this time instead of going back to the beginning, you're going to the sign and then playing through to the fine. So you can see the DC and the DS are still telling you to do the same thing. The DC means to go back to the start, DS means go back to the sign. So again, you would start at the beginning, you'd play through all these bars, you play all the way through until you reach the DS al fine, then you go all the way back to the sign this time, not the beginning, and then from there, you'd play through until you reach the fine sign. This next one gets a little more complicated again. This time we have Desalle Coda, and again you have DC, which means to go back to the beginning. So with this you would start at the beginning, obviously, play through all those measures, play through all these, get to the Desalle Coda. From there you go back to the beginning, because that's what DC means. Then you would play through again until you reach 2 coda sign, which is this right here, and it says it right here usually. Now, instead of playing through here, you're going to skip to the coda. It's telling you right here to go to the coda sign. The coda sign is right here. So after you hit that 2 coda sign, you play through from there to the end. So one more time, you start at the beginning, play through all the way till you reach the Desalle Coda. DC means to start back at the beginning, so you start back at the beginning, play through until you reach the 2 coda sign. And from there you skip this part and go to the coda and play through from there. And the coda is like a tail. It's like an extra piece added on, and it's separate from the rest of the piece. You can see it's usually like indented like it is right here. So this is saying go to the tail of the piece. And then last one, DS al Coda. I'm sure you can figure that out by now. It's the exact same concept, except this time you start at the beginning, play all the way through until you reach the DS al Coda. This time we're going back to the sign instead of the beginning because that's what DS means. So from the sign, we play through again until we reach the 2 coda right here. And that means we skip all this next time through, we go to the coda, and we finish off from there. So you can see you're just really stacking from the DC and the DS. The DC is pretty simple in itself, go back to the beginning. The DS is pretty simple in itself, go back to the sign, which looks like this. But then you're just adding in those extra parts, the al fine or the coda, and that's just giving you extra instructions. And it's something you have to go over a few times to really memorize what's going on. But just remember the DC, go back to beginning, DS, go back to the sign. So you can visualize this S as representing this sign right here. That can help to remember the difference between DC and DS. And then just follow the rest of the instructions that are going on. So those are more repeat notations that you come across. Go ahead and move on to the next lesson where I'm going to talk about other repeat signs that you'll see. And be sure to download the e-guide. All the diagrams are in there. And be sure to subscribe because we have at least one new lesson every day.